What's up, Buckets? Today we are going to dive into Brittney Griner's case as she is currently wrongfully detained in Russia, and we're going to shine more light on this situation. News is quickly and constantly evolving in this case. We were going to catch you up as of today, May 26th. Brittney Griner is a superstar in the WNBA. The 6'9" center is a champion, two-time Olympic gold medalist, and since 2015, she's played basketball overseas for UMMC in Canterbury in Russia during the W's offseason. First, I want to start with a simple timeline of events to make sure everyone is caught up. But make sure to stick around at the end of the video because we're going to hear from Dr. Courtney Cox, an expert on labor in sport, and Cierra Burdick, a current overseas basketball player. But like I said, we're going to start with a timeline. On February 17th, Griner was detained at a Russian airport near Moscow for allegedly having vape cartridges containing hashish oil in her luggage. Then, on February 24th, Russia invaded Ukraine. On March 5th, the New York Times was the first to report that Russian Federal Customs detained an American basketball star. Griner's identity wasn't initially revealed, but later that day, a video emerges of Griner being pulled aside in customs and her luggage being searched. On March 8th, Griner's booking photo is released, and according to CNN, the photo aired in a Russian TV segment, but there's no date on the photo, and it's unclear when the photo was taken. At this point, the WNBA community is unsure how to navigate the conversation. There was fear to speak out against Griner's detainment because we didn't know if she could be used as a pawn of war. Like, listen to that for a second. It was scary not only because this is one of our prize athletes being detained in a foreign country, but it's also because she is a Black queer woman being detained in a foreign country. On March 23rd, skipping forward to later in the month when U.S. officials from the embassy met with Brittney for the first time, and they reported to CNN that she is in, quote, good condition. They also promised they'd continue working closely with her legal team. On April 11th, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert announced before the WNBA draft that the league is doing everything in its power to bring BG home. On April 27th, another American prisoner who was in Russian custody since 2019, Trevor Reed, was released via a prisoner exchange. Per ESPN, this sparked hope for BG's case. Fans became hopeful too. On May 3rd, by this point, BG had been detained for 75 days, but Griner's status was reclassified as wrongfully detained. It was unknown what the reason was for this change, but it did make it easier for the W community to become louder and calling for her freedom. Later that day, the WNBA announced they will honor Griner throughout the season with a tribute as it became more clear that she won't be with the league at the start of the season. Every court has her initials and Mercury jersey number 42 as a floor decal. Then on May 13, BG was denied house arrest and her detention was extended another 30 days. Then on May 16th, the WNPBA signed a petition on change.org to U.S. officials to prioritize her return. Currently, the petition has over 160,000 signatures. The next day, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver spoke out on NBA's role in helping bring BG home. He said they're working side by side with its sister league to talk with the White House and every level of government to find a solution. After being detained for close to 90 days, it emerged that there could be a possible prisoner swap with Griner, according to Forbes. A Russian arm dealer who goes by Merchant of Death is currently serving a 25-year sentence in federal prison since his 2011 conviction. On May 25th, Brittney Griner's wife, Sherelle, speaks out to Good Morning America about the case. She said that she has not heard BG's voice since she was initially detained in February, but they have been communicating through letters. Sherelle has recently graduated from law school and admitted that she did not think it would be her wife's case that would put her degree into action so soon. One heartbreaking thing she said during the interview was that BG really appreciated the decals on the WNBA courts because she didn't want to be forgotten while she's been over there. It's been over 3 months, but we have not forgotten about you, BG. So Brittney Griner has been detained for now 100 days, wrongfully detained in Russia, I might add. Courtney, there's so many layers to this conversation, to this case, but at its core, it's a labor issue, right?
I mean, for me, that's always where I started my work. A lot of times I'm thinking about elite athletes who are at the top of their game and they have a lot to offer all of us and they deserve to be compensated as such. And so, one of the things I always think about is I sit and think about women's hoops all the time. And so, sometimes for folks that aren't super involved in this world or don't know that folks are playing year round around the world, I have to start from that space of why is that necessary, right? When their male counterparts aren't forced to do so and play year round, choosing to either be overseas and or play in the NBA or G League. And so when I'm like, no, some of your favorite athletes are playing year round. They are playing in the W, the most competitive league in the world in the summer, and then they are playing into the most competitive leagues around the world against some of these exact same players. And so one of the things that I realized, especially when everything kind of came to the light with this particular case, is that there's a lot of educating that we have to do for folks to understand what's at stake, how these disparities are operating, and really what the material realities are of living in these conditions, of playing in these sometimes really competitive, incredible leagues, but also taping your own ankles, also being out here and worried about your safety when you don't speak the language, when you're moving around. And so I don't want to conflate this idea of when you go overseas, you're in danger automatically. There's danger when we step outside our doors here in the US. Let's be real, right? And we're constantly reminded of that. And so one of the things that I think about is like what that difference means in terms of playing year round, its toll on your mental and physical health, splitting your life across continents, thinking about the ways that affects your ability to build a life for yourself financially, romantically, all of these things, right? And so I start with the very material realities of this idea of wanting to compete at the highest level and having to make these very real decisions about what your life will look like.
Cierra, you've played overseas, you've played in Russia specifically. Is there this unspoken bond because you guys are really the only ones that really know what's going on?
I mean, I would definitely say that's an unwritten rule. Whenever you see a fellow American on an opposing team, whether you have previous history or not, it's like you automatically speak to them. Hey, how you doing? How are things? Is your club treating you all right? You getting paid? Everything good? Like it's just a matter of checking in, knowing somebody is looking out for you. And that was the case even in Russia when we played against BG. You know, BG is one of the most humble human beings I've ever met, and she's always reaching out, making sure everybody's all good. And so, playing against her in Russia, it was always love. And yeah, even in every country that I've played in, it's more weird if an American doesn't talk to you than if they do talk to you. It's expected for the Americans to just bond because you are in that struggle together. You are living that same experience of being overseas, being in a foreign country, not speaking the same language, not in your comfort zone. So you need people who are in that same situation, who understand the struggle, to just be there and to support each other throughout the 7, 8, 9 months that you're overseas.
The last thing I want to talk about, Courtney, is kind of this: where do we go from here? Like, this Brittney Griner situation has shaken up the women's basketball world. We've seen We Are BG pins. There is a decal on the court. There are, people are. I didn't know that I was going to have to look into Russian law as a sports journalist. Like this, it has shaken up on so many levels. But what happens next? Like, we can't ignore that this has happened. And where does the women's basketball world go from here?
I'm thinking about the fact that the idea of playing overseas has the reverse effect, right? You make a roster, but it's always contingent upon, well, when these folks come back overseas, we reshuffle the roster, right? So it's like, it's not just where you're playing and your safety and are you getting paid on time? Are you getting paid at all, right? There's those questions and those things we can talk about too. Where is the money going, right? Can I access my money? There are all these things happening. If I get hurt, what's going to happen to me, right? What's in my clause that will affect me if I decide I need to go home, right? All these different things that are built into these things. And so when we think structurally about it, there are the ways that folks are trying to fight for good contracts overseas, get agents that understand what's going on. And then you come back to play in the W and you're like, okay, I'm finally back in the States. I'm getting my feet underneath me. I'm checking on my house. I'm checking on my family. I'm checking on everybody. And then I'm on this roster that's contingent upon, well, if they win a championship, what day will they be back? I mean, if you play WNBA fantasy, your first week matchup is like, you have these people drafted, but you're also sitting and waiting like that. Everyone, that is only a small piece of understanding how organizations have to think about this labor and approach with, how athletes have to think about their day to day.
Where can we go? Okay, expansion is something that we can look into. Kathy said we're going to add 2 teams. There needs to be more roster spots. I agree with that. But I also think, everybody talks about the G League, but I think the way we need to go is every WNBA team should also have a 3-on-3 team. And then you're automatically adding, every franchise is adding 4 to 5 roster spots. 3-on-3 is an Olympic sport now. It's growing overseas. You can make a living playing 3-on-3. People don't realize that right now, but you can make a living playing 3-on-3. The men are already doing. In the United States, we aren't up to speed as much as the European countries with 3-on-3, but it's growing and it's becoming a thing. And if every single WNBA team takes on a 3-on-3 team, you add, boom, right there, 4 to 5 roster spots. You're also adding another form of entertainment. 3-on-3 was a big hit in the Olympics. It's fast, it's nerve-wracking, it's fun. It's fun to watch. That's what people want to see. So you're growing the game, you're adding roster spots, you're coming in at a new avenue. So I think that's the first step.
I love all of this, and I appreciate you guys. My fandom is rejuvenated because I just want to be able to cheer players like Cierra on, which, by the way, you're about to play in a championship game. Good luck. And thank you guys for calling all the way from France to talk with us.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys so much.